The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Hear it here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. And they ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm about wow, you can hear from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow hosts, Aaron Meyer, Steve Johnson. Happy Tuesday. This will be out on a Wednesday. How's it going, fellas?
Yeah, happy Tuesday. I don't know what your weather's like over there, but it's been raining all day. We had tornadoes around Kansas City. It's just been a shit day outside.
It's been raining for most of the day. As far as I've been inside for most of the day, but I don't know if you got a chance to look outside, Steve. I know it was raining this morning a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It started pouring real hard about probably an hour or two ago, but pretty subtle. Earlier it was pretty muggy and humid, but now it's just pretty wet.
Is this usually the time of the year for tornadoes in the area? Because when I first moved there, they said a tornado hit in around June and it destroyed a lot of stuff in Jeff City. Then a couple weeks back in St. Louis, I don't know if y'all heard about those tornadoes that messed St. Louis up.
Yeah, like a month ago or 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that, right?
It's like 2 weeks ago or so. That's crazy. I heard a lot of North St. Louis got messed up. A friend of mine, his brother's house got destroyed. So that's scary stuff.
Yeah.
You have a basement in your area, Admire, if something like that went down?
Oh, yeah, I got a basement. And my new house is brick. So, I mean, my basement's like solid. A tornado could hit this shit and probably wouldn't do anything.
That's crazy. I mean, where I'm at right now, I don't have any basement. So I don't know what I would do. I would have to, I don't know. Those tornadoes hit like really quickly, like you really even have time to really react.
Yeah, a lot of times when they first start, when they drop out of the sky, it's kind of out of nowhere. But then a lot of times they start somewhere and they kind of move through. They move pretty quick, but like a lot of times you can see them coming. A lot of people kind of drive away from them.
Yeah. Don't people like chase after storms, like storm chases? Like,
yeah, I mean that's what a lot of Midwestern people are known for, is being idiots and chasing storms. A lot of people around here do it. When they see a big storm, they'll chase it.
Couldn't find my black ass doing that.
Yeah, it's mostly a white people thing. A lot of people try to shelter from the storm. White people, they run towards the storm a lot of times.
They make movies about it too. Twisters just came out. Did a sequel. I think that made a good bit of money. So hey, some people, adrenaline junkies and like to get their fixes. So hey, whatever your vice is, I guess go for it. But other than that, not a whole lot going on. You been any Royals games lately, Admire?
No, not lately. I was just watching the Royals game. I mean, I don't know if we have any listeners, anybody that pays attention to baseball, but today's a big day for the Royals. They called up the guy we drafted last year, Jack Caglione. He got called up in his first games tonight. Usually when you get drafted in baseball, you're in the minors for a year, 2, 3. But we drafted him last year and he called him up this quick. He's the first player, I think, the fastest turnaround since Bo Jackson to get drafted and called up this quick. So it's a big deal. Like, it's made national news. It's been all over like ESPN and shit. He already had his first at bat. He almost hit a home run, came a little bit short up the fence and got out, but he looks good. So that's what I've been doing, watching some Royals.
Did he go to college or did he?
He went to Florida, the blue and orange Florida.
Oh, the Gators.
Yeah,
So,
the Gator
okay.
one.
So so it's not like an 18-year-old kid getting called up.
He went to Florida. He's 22. He was on one of the teams that was in the College World Series. I mean, he's a monster, big Italian kid that just drops bombs.
When is the MLB draft usually held?
It's usually this month, but I think they pushed it back a month this year, so I think it's next month.
So when they draft in July and there's still some season left, did he play last year when he got drafted, or do they have to wait till the next season?
They wait till the next season, and usually they start them in the like real low minor leagues. There's like 3 different levels pretty much in the minor league system. You know, you got the A, AA, AAA, stuff like that. And he's moved through just so quickly. He just got moved up like a couple weeks ago, and he hit like 5 or 6 home runs within 8 games, and the Royals haven't looked too good, so they just brought him up this quick.
Yeah, if this is his first year playing and the season starts back in March, April, that is quick getting called up.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. He's gonna turn out to be something special.
Like, you know, they say pressure either burst pipes or make diamonds. So hopefully they didn't rush him up too quick.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's concern is they didn't give enough time to develop and get used to, you know, major league pitching. But so far tonight, I mean, he took a big old swing and hit that ball good.
Yeah. Hopefully he can give them a spark. Because I was looking at the rankings, the Royals record wasn't bad. It was over 500 last time I checked.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit under 500 now. They've lost some games. They haven't been scoring a lot of runs. Like they just their offense has been horrible. Their pitching looks good, but they ain't putting up runs to help. So,
yeah.
Dude, he just hit a home run. I think.
Yeah, look at that. He spoke it into existence.
Did he? Something. I don't know. I got it on my iPad over here, but I just seen him running the bases. Something happened. Or no, he just got a hit, maybe. I don't know. Something's going on.
Something going on. Yeah, well, the NBA season is coming to an end, so this is baseball's time to shine. You know, July, getting close to July, the All-Star break. So it's that time of the year. But this is a combat sports show, so we will hop into that. And like we always do on these preview shows, let's talk about news stories inside or outside the cage. This one was kind of in the cage. It didn't quite make it to the cage. I don't know if y'all saw this one. I was actually watching this card last weekend. It was an Apex card. It was headlined by Macy Barber and also Aaron Blanchfield. And, you know, I'm sitting on my couch, had a drink in my hand. I'm like, all right, the main event is about to start. Lo and behold, like Daniel Cormier comes on the screen looking all sad because I had the Caleb Plant fight on the other screen and whatnot. And or maybe that fight was already over and I was looking at the NBA game, but you know, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, Daniel Cormier hops on the screen and was like looking all sad, and I didn't have the volume on. I'm like, what's he looking all sad for? And they're like, fight's canceled. Macy Barber has had a medical emergency, and I don't know if y'all have ever. I don't think there's ever been anything like this where a fight gets canceled literally when they're about to walk out for the main event. And there was a little bit of controversy because Aaron Blanchfield was like kind of being insensitive and calling Macy Barber unprofessional and whatnot. And it's reports out there that Macy Barber is having seizures back there. So if that is true, that is kind of a good reason to call a fight off. But I don't know. What are y'all first thoughts on this? I'll start with you, Aaron.
Yeah, I didn't watch the card, but I read all about it and everything. I mean, it's kind of crazy calling her unprofessional if she was having seizures. You know, I mean, you can't. You know, it's not like she chose to have seizures. You know, if I don't know exactly the reason why, but I would have to believe it had something to do with kind of the weight cut, because I seen that, there was some weight cut issues and all that. But she's got to kind of evaluate that, what happened with the weight cut. But a lot of fighters at some point have a hard weight cut. A lot of them miss weight at one time or another. Sometimes it's for unprofessional reasons. They don't take it serious. Sometimes it's just the way the body's reacted and they can't do it. But something obviously was wrong if it's causing seizures. And I don't know if it was weight cut related or not. But I mean, I think before somebody calls somebody unprofessional, at least wait for all the facts. And I mean, I've heard of fights being scrapped, the same day. But like you said, up until right before the fight, I don't think there's ever been one that's been that close to fight time.
I've never seen it. What are your thoughts on this, Steve?
Yeah. Didn't catch the exact moment but from what I hear, is about to be the walkout, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it's about to walk out.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened. I think that's a first. And who knows? And of course, yes, she had a seizure, and she of course was gonna have a seizure on purpose. It was on that it wasn't planned. But maybe she's critiquing the preparation. If I'm not mistaken, I think I was hearing comments even before the weight cut and before the fight saying that she wasn't going to make weight or
yeah. Before the fight happened, Blanchfield said she wouldn't be surprised if she pulls out. So she kind of spoke it into fruition.
So I would say if she did, she can have an opinion. If she has a reason, she might have scoped something out, before, as far as premonition, saw what was going to happen. Maybe saw her previous fights, or maybe there's a saying about Macy Barber about her weight cuts and how hard they are. I looked at her on the scale, and I think that's the worst I've ever seen her. I think she can barely stand on the scale from what I've seen. Maybe it's just the approach of the fight is what she's critiquing. At this time you're at this weight and you're still having trouble or in the brink of having seizures or look like you're on the brink of death on the scale. I think she needs to approach a higher weight class, maybe.
I was gonna say, if you're Dana White and Sean Shelby, if he's still in charge, or Silva, one of those matchmakers, do you force her to move up the bantamweight permanently now? Not a health risk are at stake. What do you think, Amar?
I don't think so. I think, well, I mean, you kind of got to find out the whole reason why the weight was missed. Was it out of laziness, or was it a miscalculation on the training and the coaching staff with the weight cut? What exactly was the reason behind it? Or is it because the age factor and the body just can't handle a weight cut like that anymore? If it's because the body can't handle it, some of the other fighters we've seen, like Anthony Johnson back in the day, he got to a point where he couldn't cut down to that welterweight anymore and just couldn't do it. So, they pretty much told him, you're going to be fighting at a higher weight class. They got to find out the reason why, or, give her one more chance. Hey, if you miss weight one more time, you've got to change that weight class. So just kind of see what happens with the next go around.
People were even considering that she recently had implants. So maybe the cut this time, which I think this was her first cut since her implants, maybe she's got a little bit of silicone reaction, or poisoning from that cut that maybe went into her bloodstream or something.
Now, has that been confirmed that she got implants?
Well, that's what I was looking through the MMA community, certain channels, MMA Guru, whenever everybody was kind of having an opinion on it. I think she did have implants recently. That's just from, people who were talking about it.
Man, a lot of these fighters, I don't know about a lot, but a good bit do have the implants because, I've heard because weight fluctuation kind of messes with their appearance. So you'll see a lot of the fighters get them, but sometimes I'm guessing some people do react differently when they get them. But I hadn't really seen a report. So like you said, that's people talking. You never know what reports are true or not, but that's unfortunate if that is the case. But you saw something on your end, Amar?
Oh, I was just looking up what Steve said. Yes, it's confirmed she did get breast implants, but I just pulled it up on Reddit, and people are kind of just saying, she's kind of, playing the victim card. She needs to take accountability. I mean, they're saying, she didn't, get dealt a poor hand. I mean, she decided to get breast implants mid-career, and it's her fault. I mean, she didn't take it very serious. Like, why would you get breast implants in the middle of a high-profile fighting career?
Well, we don't want to put the blame on her. We know the people that on Reddit, so it's like some of the internet basement dwellers. We don't want to speculate too much, but that's kind of the risk you take when you get a surgery like that. But until we could get it confirmed by doctors, we don't want to speculate. But yeah, that's unfortunate. And I gotta look up these reports about these implants for research purposes.
I like it. I like it.
So with that being said, though, am I saying that you should probably give it one more try and not necessarily go up to a different weight class or higher weight class in bantamweight? And I'm thinking, Steve, so I'm guessing you're saying that probably should be the route she goes is the bantamweight division.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I think I may side with Admire on this one. It seems like a seizure. If that is what she had, it would be a freak incident, and that can't predict that. So give her one more try. See if she could, get right at flyweight. But if that doesn't work out, and then I agree with you, Steve. She needs to go up to bantamweight. So I'll give her one more strike, see what happens, because her name is the future. So UFC kind of put their money in the Macy Barber game. So a lot with the Aaron Blanchfield game as well. Both of them are like highly rated prospects because I think UFC wants to get an American in that flyweight division to be on the top, and they're trying to like kind of groom these girls to be the next one up. It's kind of been a big void left since Ronda Rousey took her ball and went home, and I think UFC's been chasing that the next American star for a while. But I mean, I feel like they have people from different countries they can market too, but it seems like they don't really want to fully, put their money behind those girls. But that's a topic for a different day. But looking at something like this going forward, would y'all say, I mean, we've seen them have backups for other fights. Maybe it's the pay-per-view fight. Like, shouldn't they just have a backup person or people for main event just in case something like this happens? Am I?
Yeah, we've always talked about this. I mean, they should always have a backup, and I think they still do for like the men's fights, but I don't know if the women's fights is something that they've ever really thought about, because I don't know that a lot of women miss weight. I mean, can you think of a time that there's really been missed weights or a fight canceled due to missed weights in the women's? I don't think there's been any canceled or changed.
I've never seen it canceled, but I've definitely seen them miss weight. And this one, I think is it this past weekend or this weekend where they had to put it up to featherweight. They don't even have a featherweight division anymore because a woman missed weight. I think it was this past weekend's card. I can't remember who exactly fought, but it was on. So it was the Ketlin Vieira and Macy Chazon fight. They happened at featherweight last weekend. So they do miss weight, but I've never really seen them call off a fight maybe with women because of the weight miss. But like you said, we said they should always have a backup for a main event, I think. I think we see them for the men and women when it comes to title fights, but for like other fights, they don't seem to do that. I don't know why. But maybe it's you think it might be a money saving issue? Because they have to pay people to cut weight for it to be a backup.
They got plenty of money. And I think the risk is worth the reward. If something happens, paying that little bit of extra is worth saving the event, but it's also different when you're talking about the women's. You have such a shallow pool of fighters that it might not benefit as much. You're taking more out of the pool. With the men's, you have so many people that could back up and are interchangeable that it doesn't really affect things. But on the women's, if you're taking one person out of competition here, it does change up kind of the, I'll say kind of the bracket in the ranking system of who can fight who. If you have one and two fighting here on this event and you have number 3 as the backup, well, normally on the women's, number 3 and number 4 are already scheduled to fight on the next card or two. So it kind of gets things out of order for the women's, because they just the women kind of fight more closely in order than the men's do. Right. If that makes sense.
Yeah. You think it's worth it, Steve, to pay a little bit more for somebody backing up these main events?
I think so. I know not a lot of fighters are honest on their injuries, but if fighters give them a heads up beforehand and have a fighter just in shape or ready to cut within 1 or 2 weeks if he has to, I think it would be beneficial for the company, because luckily that was just a fight night card, because lately, I think we've been getting mediocre pay-per-views, and I don't think we can take enough pay-per-view being canceled, especially a main event.
Well, that's the perfect transition right there, as far as you mentioned in mediocre pay-per-views, because another aspect of it is people are complaining about the quality of these fight nights, and even still spilling over to the pay-per-views. And this has been a hot topic on another entity that TKO owns, WWE, with them putting on like 4 fight cards and charging ticket prices out the wazoo, $400 for nosebleeds and whatnot. And there's a report that UFC is shopping their next TV deal. Some people were like trying to predict them going to Netflix. Other people are saying maybe another entity like an Amazon. And if you're one of these streaming companies and you see these fight night cards with local fighters that you might be seeing on your local regional scene on these cards, and them just turning out these cards week to week with no notable names, do you have a little bit of leverage? Be like, y'all aren't really putting on valuable fights, and we're not going to pay y'all all this money, and we're not getting the quality in return. You think this might affect their next TV deal? And I'll start off with you, Admire.
Well, it could be the opposite, though, because what they could be doing is they're putting on so many cards that it's getting more viewers. Instead of 12 big cards that let's just say, for the sake of argument, 12 big cards that get 1 million each, that's 12 million viewers. But if they put on 50 little cards that are free, or on ESPN Plus or whatever, that get 500,000 viewers, whatever 500,000 times 50 is, they're still getting a lot of viewers. They can go to these networks and say, we had X amount of viewers. So it doesn't have to be big events. They can just give a total number of viewers. So I don't think it really matters the quality of the cards that they're putting on, because people are going to watch them regardless. I'll admit, for me, I've kind of fallen off just because life's been busy and none of these cards have really stuck out to me. But there are still people out there that aren't going to miss any. There are people that are, I'll say in quotes, casuals, that are still going to tune in because there's nothing else on. Especially right now, there's people that aren't basketball or baseball fans that really have nothing else to watch, that are in between, football season, that will tune into MMA and other things. So I don't think that the quality of the cards are going to affect any network deals. And I think that they will probably end up on a bigger network. I think it'll probably follow the same blueprint as, wrestling did back in the day. I don't remember what it was called, but, WWE got their own network and was doing their own thing. And then soon after, UFC did Fight Pass, kind of modeled it the same. They didn't do exactly the same where the pay-per-views were included, but they kind of did a subscription-based service. And now you see all the transformation that wrestling went through, and now wrestling's kind of landed on Netflix. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see UFC kind of get a Netflix deal, maybe not like a full Netflix deal, but something to where there's one card a month, maybe not pay-per-view caliber, but I would expect something that's a little bit better than Fight Night caliber, something kind of mid-card, a little bit better, in between.
So I'm gonna get back to you in a second after I hear Steve's thoughts on this. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, that's a good point. But I do also see a point for how they got it modeled to how to see these fights. The ESPN, Fight Pass or whatever, and then you'll get the fight nights, but then you'll have to have the ESPN Plus to even access some of these pay-per-views. And
all of the pay-per-views you have to have ESPN Plus to even buy the pay-per-view.
That's like locked behind that's like going, that's crazy. So I hear people complain about that model and hoping their next deal they won't do the same thing. It's like locked behind a pass before you even get a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Or you just can't even access the pay-per-view, which is
double paywall is behind.
Mm-hmm.
But so going back to your point, Adam, you think if you like you said, if you're a fan sitting around on a Saturday night and you're mainly a football fan and you just throw it on, maybe that's who they're marketing to. But are there numbers to back that up to see that those ratings are worth it? If you're like ESPN and because sometimes like I get it, especially if it's on ESPN, because your random bar, like that's like the default station to put on if you're at a bar at ESPN. So those ratings always get in, but they still do have a lot of these fight night cards are just ESPN Plus exclusive cards. So are the numbers coming back to where it's even worth it if you're ESPN?
I would have to imagine. I mean, something's got to be worth it. I mean, especially with ESPN, like getting rid of baseball now. Like, I don't know if you heard about that. They're getting rid of Sunday Night Baseball. They used to be like the big thing for ESPN. They had the Sunday Night Baseball thing they're letting go of, and they've like slowly gotten rid of a lot of stuff that they used to cover. So, I mean, I don't know if UFC is going to be one of the things they let go in the future, or if that's something they're going to keep and invest more money into. It's got to be one or the other. But ESPN seems like it's just kind of freeing up a lot of the room that they have. So I would expect them maybe to go all in on UFC and kind of make that a staple thing. Because if you think about ESPN, really, what do they have left? Like, what is their specialty? To me, ESPN anymore is just a talking head station anymore, a soundbite station, a roundtable discussion thing. It's not what it used to be. When I was a kid, ESPN was games, basketball, football, baseball, Sports Center. Like, that's all it was. And every morning you got up, you watched Sports Center for, the reruns over and over and over, and then a game was on. But now all it is all these shows of all the talking heads and the hot takes and maybe a game, like a lot of college games now. So with them, like I said, with them getting rid of stuff, I would expect them to go all in on UFC unless UFC is something they're getting rid of.
Yeah. Long and gone are the days of Sports Center with Stewart, Scott, and SVP. Those were the days, getting up and watching the top 10. Like you said, it's transformed to the sports debate shows with the talking heads, and Stephen A. Smith is basically the mascot of it, and I'm not too much of a fan of it because I feel like they put on a show and they're like, especially Stephen A. He's like a caricature of himself, just speaking loud just for the clicks, even though he probably doesn't even feel that way. He's just being loud just to make a point.
Yeah, saying the wildest shit just to get a soundbite. And, it's always funny to me that they will say the craziest thing and be wrong. And then they never have to come back and like apologize or admit they were wrong or just anything. They just move on to the next crazy thing they say, and like never address it. Like, it's not what it used to be. It used to be so great. Like you said, Stuart Scott, I mean, one of the greatest dudes to watch every day. Like, it was so much fun. Him and Chris Berman, my favorites.
Even back to the days of Dan, why is his last name skipping? He's on CNR. They cover for him. He used to be on ESPN. Not Dan Levitard. I don't know why his name is slipping my name, but
Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick used to be a Sports Center guy too back in those days. Dan Patrick. So yeah, long and gone are those days. But going back to the possible TV renewal, like you said, ESPN should be, I guess, pressing hard for them. But I think they do have to like shake it up a little bit if they do renew ESPN. And I don't know, they have to do something where they get more notable fights, I think. But you were talking about Netflix possibly doing like maybe like a once a month fight night card, but the president or one of the higher ups at Netflix says they're not looking to be in the business of a weekly event for like a combat sports. Like you said, they do have WWE, but that's like basically it's scripted sports entertainment soap opera weekly. But he said they're only looking to like a big events like the Mike Tyson's or Jake Paul's. They're not looking to do like weekly or monthly shows for Netflix.
I don't know, man. I mean, they can say that, but they're going to do whatever makes the most money. So, I mean, if they could prove that there's the viewership behind it, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if, everything is done, based on what makes money. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a survey come in your email within the next couple months from Netflix talking about, would you like to see live sports on Netflix? Because even, I don't know if you have HBO Max, but like even HBO Max has, it has sports on there now.
They have NHL, they have NBA. Well, they don't have NBA anymore, but the NBA just went off for the last time after the conference finals. But they also have like AEW or wrestling on there, and then NHL. So
yeah, all these streaming platforms are like starting to dabble in their own little sports section, and Netflix has done like a couple little sports things, the bigger ones. So they're going to do whatever makes them money. If they figure out that, hey, if we sign with the UFC, we do one fight a month or something, or maybe the UFC runs the numbers like you said and says, hey, we've been putting on shitty cards, we're losing viewership. Let's cut this down. Let's stop having so many cards. Let's have mega cards. Let's do 10 mega cards a year and put them on Netflix. That could make a lot of money because, sometimes we miss cards now because we watch so many. But if there was only 10 cards a year, I guarantee you none of us would miss a card. And especially if it was like, think about like almost a WrestleMania style where, it doesn't have to be 2 days, but if it was a 1 day, 6-8 hour UFC event with, 12 to 20 fights, that would be awesome. It would make so much money.
Yeah. I would love if they went to that model. Like that'd be on my wish list, but I don't see them doing like anything like that just because the money they're making off their TV deals and they have to have a little more volume. I think a happy medium would be, you keep your pay-per-views and then, like you said, have like these big Netflix fights. So like 2 fights a month. One is a big Netflix one, and then one could be on your pay-per-view, and you could still put on, I think, big fights if you did it that model. Because right now I did the math, and I think it's up to like 40 or 50 events a year right now. It's a good bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like every weekend now at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I think it might be like they might diversify their profile, so to speak. I think it might not be like an exclusive deal this next go around. They might follow like the WWE model because WWE, they have like a show on Netflix. Like you said, they have a show on USA, their other show, and they got their like developmental, that show's on CW, and then they should have the pay-per-views on Peacock. So I think UFC may do something like that. Maybe have like shows that are on Netflix and still have shows on ESPN and have multiple TV deals. Because I think they kind of did that back in the day when they were on Spike. They had events on Spike. They still had their pay-per-views, and I think they had like shows on like Versus while they were still on Spike. So they might go back to doing that. So we'll see how things shake out. But either way, they're gonna make their money. But I think they have to do something to keep interest with. They gotta have something past the hardcore fans. You gotta cater to, like you said, the casuals, like who aren't gonna tune in just to see Bob Miller face Jim Caldwell that we don't know about on these random fight nights. And I like to see the pay-per-view numbers. There's no way they had like, good numbers this year. But what I know. But moving on, I don't know if y'all saw this. Paige Van Zandt, she was scheduled to fight in Power Slap, and she got to pull out because she said she had a neck injury. And that's a big star as far as that Power Slap leagues. So they still haven't really seen like a lot of ramifications for being in this slap league. It's definitely a lot of concussions, and now you have like a star like PVZ having a neck injury. So I'm guessing the question I have is like, is this Power Slap league been a flop or a success so far?
Yeah, Power Slap, I don't know, man. I don't watch most of it. I think it's real gimmicky, but like obviously it's doing good. I mean, it's surviving. From what I heard, it was a pretty serious neck injury for her. But I mean, I kind of think of it as bare knuckle. It's kind of the perfect game for her. Like she didn't fare that good in actual fighting, and it's just a way for it's kind of like her niche. Like it's a good thing for her. Like you just get to slap in the face, and you don't have to do any other technical fighting. It is what it is. So I guess it fits for some people. It doesn't do anything for me, and I think that I think it's going to lead to CTE. I mean, it's repeated head shit, like over and over and over. I mean, we're watching guys fight and punch each other, but this is different. Like this is standing there with your hands down, letting somebody just squarely smack you in the face. Like it's wild.
So surviving and thriving are two different things. You think like they're just kind of maintaining? Because maybe it's not my algorithm. I haven't really seen like really any buzz off this Power Slap league. I know the clips circulate online, but haven't been viral online doesn't equate to success necessarily. Like I think they were on a bigger platform and had to go down to like a even like lesser known platform, if I'm not mistaken, because they did have like a little show on can't remember what station it was on TV. Oh, it was on TBS. And they got kicked off of that. I think now they're just on Rumble. So like I said, there's a difference between thriving and just barely surviving, don't you think, Amar?
Yeah, I guess, but it seemed like for a while they were even trying to like turn it into something else. Like I don't know if you noticed it. They started having like celebrities show up to it and sit with Dana White and watch it, and kind of the focus was on that. I remember like Shane Gillis was at one, and I think Theo Vaughn and some of the other comedians, and they were like kind of showing the celebrities hanging out at it and like kind of focusing on that, trying to bring more attention to it. So I don't know. It's real gimmicky to me. It's not for me. Whatever.
Steve, you think it's been successful at this point?
Yeah, I would say for its first run, but all the people that are known, about to retire because it can't last long.
Like, really? They about to retire already?
I think so.
So they've been around for like 2 years. I mean, that makes sense though. Like everybody says, the CTE and the damage you take it. I can see it being a very short career.
Yeah, you're starting to see the ones that you would see all the time less and less. I would imagine, and plus the game is to play the game and be able to have a defense, and there's no defense in that game. But I think it's going down, and I think Dana may know it. Maybe you can make a little bit of money, but I think the attraction it's lost over time. Sometimes I used to a thumbnail or a title might get me, but I don't even bother clicking on it nowadays.
Yeah, like Admire was saying about the bare knuckle, but at least there's defense in there, and I think bare knuckle has like a nice little niche. I think that what they have to do is just keep getting more stars in there, and I think they probably will get people from the MMA world. But with this power slap, there's no defense. You sit there and take slaps. But I know we're kind of a barbaric society, but I think that even goes past people's watching ability, and you're just getting slapped in the face and with no defense. And I mean, like you said, if you're on YouTube and you see these clips, it's fun seeing somebody get knocked out occasionally, but after a while it's kind of cringe, right?
Yeah. But I guess the pay isn't too bad though. I mean, it says that they're champions at the big events, like take home 60 grand. I mean, you're not really doing a fight camp, or you don't really have coaches and stuff. So the money's yours. You're walking away with 60 grand. So I guess it ain't that bad compared to, what a fighter makes and has to split his whole salary with his team and coaches and this and that. So, I mean, to get slapped in the face a few times, if you can stand it and slap pretty good, 60 grand ain't bad if you can do it a few times a year.
It's probably a little bit of training. Like you said, it's not as extensive as having an MMA gym when you have to pay a boxing coach, a jiu-jitsu coach, and all of that. They probably have some type of management too. 60, you got to get taxes involved, and they're probably only seeing like half of that. And you said that's for one event, the champions one?
Yeah, it says like the champion of like one of the big events takes home like 60 grand. Then another thing here says like 45 grand, but then it says like the real low level, like undercard guys are like 2 grand to show, 2 grand to win. Like, not for me, man. I ain't getting fucking knocked out by a slap for 2 grand on TV. Nope.
And the long-term effects, like you said, and having brain damage for 2 grand, like, I don't know. I value my body more than that. In my law, I want to be able to be 50 years old without drooling. You about to say something else, Steve?
Oh yeah, If that the physics or the biology of a human, I understand if you can like change your jaw or muscle around that nerve, but the more you hit it, the more it deteriorates. So it's not it's a lose-lose game. Short game. I say get in and get out when you can.
Yeah, definitely. So it's not much money to make, as Admire just said, but I guess get some type of notoriety or money as much as you can, because I don't know. I'd be surprised if this league is still around in the year of 2030. So we'll see what happens in the next 5 years. But moving along, another guy who's not in the power slap league, but he is your heavyweight champion of the world, Mr. Jon Jones. Is he or isn't he going to fight Tom Aspinall? Tom Aspinall's on record. He said Jon Jones is retired and he doesn't think that Jon Jones is going to fight. So what do y'all think? Do y'all see Jon Jones fighting Aspinall in 2025? I'll let you kick it off, Admire.
I don't think so, man. At first I thought it was Jon Jones just kind of playing the game, a negotiation tactic, trying to get the money up. I think the number that was originally thrown around was, he wants $30 million. He wants, the big payday, the final fight of his career. But at this point, I can't remember what the exact stat was, but it was something like Jon Jones has been inactive longer than Aspinall's held the interim belt or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but basically Jon Jones has had every chance to say yes. Aspinall has done everything to call him out, to try to make the fight. The UFC definitely wants this fight. You know, we just got done talking about putting on better cards and selling more pay-per-views. That's the absolute biggest fight the UFC could make right now. Out of their whole roster, Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall is the biggest fight they could possibly make. So that is the fight they would be willing to throw the most money at, and they would be making that fight if Jon Jones wanted to. So I think at this point that Jon Jones doesn't want that fight. And it's hard to say anymore that Jon Jones isn't ducking him because the opportunity's there. What's stopping him? He's fought all these other dudes for this amount of money. If the UFC is willing to throw this amount of money, why are you not going in there and fighting? What's the reason?
Steve?
Yeah. I notice sometimes when people are on their way out in the UFC, and I don't know if it's a tradition thing or an unwritten tradition, but you usually see somebody going out with the same fight, somebody at their same timeline. I know this can be a different scenario. We have an undefeated fighter. He's very unique in comparison, so you can't compare him to everybody else. So it's kind of a new avenue. He's only the one person that's been for real undefeated. And I can see how fans are getting mad, you know, because he's been inactive and haven't fought. But I don't know. Maybe that's Jon Jones' excuse. I would hate to say it, one of those easy fights out. You know, Bisping and what do you call it, Dan Henderson. Dan Henderson on his way out, he wasn't champion, but gotten a championship contention. He actually tried. So I don't know if he's trying to get those same privileges. But I don't know who's lasted as long he's been in the game that's still in heavyweight that can challenge him. So I don't know if that can be an excuse. So I don't know as far as like opinion why he's not fighting. I mean, I don't think it would be the money.
I think it is the money. He's a legend at this point, so of course he's going to try to get the maximum amount of coin to fight. I mean, I don't blame him. And if you're TKO and like we talk about with they own UFC and WWE, every time it's a show for both companies, they brag about this is the highest grossing gate ever. So if I'm Jon Jones, I'm looking at it like, of course, y'all are bragging about this, so give me the money. So if you got to pay $30 million to give him the fight, then fork it up. If, like Admire, you were saying this is one of the biggest fights. I think as far as quality and name, this is the biggest fight, but there is a bigger fight out there, even though the quality won't be as good. The only bigger fight in this would be Conor versus Nate Diaz, but both of those guys are retired in my eyes, so I don't even want to talk about that. But as far as quote unquote active fighters, I mean, at this point, you're only going to get one Jon Jones fight a year. It is what it is. He fought 2024. He fought in 2023. I think he does fight before the year's over. And if we know Jon Jones is a troll, so I think he's kind of been messing with the fans and not giving them a definitive answer. But, you know, the wheels are turning behind the scenes. I think we get the MSG card. He's been known to fight on that card, and we get that again. And they probably won't announce it until September. And Jon Jones is a sociopath. So people that are on the internet are saying that he's scared of Aspinall. He's not scared of Aspinall at all. Of course, it's risk fighting Aspinall. He's a knockout artist, but Jon Jones is a sociopath, and he's got a lot of pride and a lot of ego. So even if Aspinall is able to knock him out, or at this point, and Jon Jones may be past his prime, in his head, he still believes he's the best. So I don't think he's scared of Aspinall. He's just playing Jon Jones games as he always has been. Yeah. Like, you had something to say about that, Admire?
I don't know, man. It's just I was trying to look it up. and nobody's going to know this for sure, but I was wondering how much money Jon Jones has left because, he was huge and he had so many sponsorships before, but then he lost them. And then it seems like he got really inactive compared to what he used to be. He used to be really active for a while. And then all that shit kind of happened with the different, failed tests, some of the legal troubles. So I wonder how much money he really has left. And is he sitting on the sideline because he has enough money, or is he sitting on the sideline because he wants that big enough payday to cover him the rest of his life to where he won't need money? I wonder which way it is, or if it even has anything to do with that. But I don't know. I can't say for sure if he's ducking Aspinall or not, but that's just, internet clamor. And it's what it seems like, but it's probably Jon Jones games, like you said. But the part of me feels like that if Alex Pereira would have won, against Magomedov or Ankalaev, I feel like Jon Jones would have instantly wanted to fight Alex Pereira. I think Jon Jones would have happily took that fight. We would have already seen Jon Jones fight. I think he knows Aspinall is a high-risk situation, so he has to play his cards right and make it worth it, which – smart on his part. From a fan's perspective, we could say, oh, he's taking forever. This is bullshit. He's holding up the line, whatever. But if it was us, we'd do the same thing. So, I mean, I can talk shit all I want, but I can't fault him as well.
I don't think it's a duck, but I don't think he's in a rush to fight Aspinall, if that makes sense. Because like you said, if it was Pierre has a bigger name. Like you said, Aspinall is higher risk, but it's not like I don't think he's scared of him, but like he's not in a rush. He's like, what should I be in a rush for? I'm the A side, and he's trolling with fans because he doesn't have to rush it. The ball's in his court, but that's just what I think. I don't know if you wanted to say something to close this out, Steve.
No, I would have to agree. He's went through murder's row as far as like compared to any of these champions that are champions today. If anybody has a say to direct who they want to fight, it should be Jon Jones.
Yeah, I mean, put it perfectly. So we'll see. Like I said, it's a long. I think he fights at MSG, and then if he doesn't fight on that, then we'll come back to this conversation. And be like, all right, something's weird happening if they don't make that fight because they're lacking star power right now. And to kind of segue into the next topic, you said there's a little bit of movement with possible Conor fight, even though we've heard this a million times, Steve.
Yeah, I think I've heard talks on social media and YouTube that Conor's coming to try to make a contract with Chandler. So I think we might be able to see that in the future.
Isn't this like a boy who cried wolf situation? I don't believe it because then they even have the fight on the books at one point, and it still got canceled. I don't know if you saw anything on your end, Amar, now that we bring this up.
No, I don't see anything on it. I wouldn't even waste time worrying about McGregor, man. Until that dude is in the testing pool and you have proof of him training and all that shit, and you show me him in the UFC gym and you show me a signed contract, I don't even want to hear about it. Like it's all bullshit because we wasted so much time talking about that dude. And I called it back when we had this discussion. I said he ain't gonna fight. That fight ain't happening. I said it, and everybody still believed it. Not happening. We are not going to see McGregor fight again. If we do see him fight again, it'll be a circus fight or it'll still be a circus fight. It'll be boxing. It'll be McGregor against Ryan Garcia on fucking Netflix.
Yeah, I'd have to see. It have to be the week of the fight, and I'll still be kind of worried if he pulled out. For me to believe he's coming back. Why? So has it been like people like in Reddit or YouTube saying that he's maybe signing this contract, Steve?
Yeah, I can't remember what context, but Yeah, that's what I pretty much heard. That talks that Connor might come back. Like I said, like Admire said, I don't believe it myself, but I think lately, since Jon Jones hasn't got his deal done, I think he should. As far as UFC has, really needs a good. How should I say this? Besides Jon Jones, a new face. But Connor's not there. You got Jon Jones. You have new champions, but do they have star power? And I think star power needs to come back to the UFC a little bit because it's diminishing.
Well, they kind of shot themselves in the foot with this Reebok deal. All the fighters look alike. I don't know. A lot of these new fighters don't really know how to cut promos like that without being cringe. Like was the Bryce Mitchells of the world and the Kobe's. Like all those guys are cringe. Like you don't really have people with the charisma like a Connor or even a Chael Sonnen back in the day. So I don't know. It's just gonna have to be lightning in a bottle at this point. Somebody's just gonna have to catch fire and out of nowhere. I don't think there's any formula because, like you said, they're lacking star power, and I don't know what they could do to solve it. One thing would be to let them wear their own unique gear again. Like everybody knew Anderson Silva was coming out in the Burger King, and Iceman was coming out with the ice shorts, and wasn't there a Condo Depot fighter back in the day? It had all types of crazy sponsorships, but that's gone. So that takes away a lot of the personality. But I don't know what they're gonna do because those are the last two stars that you have on your roster. Conor McGregor is on your roster and spared at this point. And I mean, he needs to deal with the stuff that's going on in his personal life too. Like I know he's not in no criminal charges, but he did get a civil charge for rape. We forget about that. And I feel like that kind of got brushed underneath the rug. And that guy's just a mess. And I'd like to see, like, maybe, I don't know, is his money maybe running out? Because he likes to party hard, and blow through money and yachts and all that. That's not, cheap to keep up as far as his lifestyle goes. But I'm with Admire. I don't believe it until fight week, like I said. But guess we'll have to see what happens with that. But moving on to the fight that's happening this weekend, UFC 316 is going down in Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. And going over the early prelims, not a whole lot of star power in this one. In the lightweight division, you got Markel Moretos versus Mark Chowinski. And another lightweight fight, Quillian Salcu versus Yanil Ajmaz. And in the featherweight division, you got Jeka Sergi versus Ju Sang Ju. And then the women's flyweight in the early prelims, we got Ariane Da Silva versus Wang Kong. I don't know if y'all will be around to even look at these early prelims, but
probably not the early prelims for me. not a lot of star power on that one.
Yeah, and I know you probably still be at work, Steve, when these are going on. So I'm guessing if something notable happens, you can watch the replay. I don't know what I'm doing this Saturday. If I'm around, I'll throw it on in the background, but not a whole lot of urgency to watch this as far as the name power goes. But moving on to the prelims, we got some names on this one. Welterweight division, we got Chaos Williams versus Andreas Gustafsson. Heavyweight division, big boy swinging them things. We got Sergey Spivak versus Waldo Cortez Acosta. And then in the light heavyweight division, we got Azmat Murskanov versus Brendan Ribeiro. And to cap this one off in the flyweight division, we got Bruno Gustavo da Silva versus Josh Van. Any of these pique your interest, Admire?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of interesting that, they got that Sergey Spivak, number 7 heavyweight, right in the middle of the prelims. I mean, that's a fight right there that's worthy of headlining prelims, if not even being on the main card somewhere. I mean, that's going to be a decent fight, having some big boys throwing it. And then another interesting one, this one I brought up a couple episodes ago, Bruno Silva on here. Just saw him fight at the beginning of May. Not on the best run. He's lost 7 of his last 8 fights.
I think that might be a different Bruno Silva.
Is it the other one?
Yeah, this is the lighter one. He just lost the cap. He just lost the Manel cap. This Silva, he's the flyweight.
Okay. So my bad. Other Bruno Silva.
Yeah, he fought Cody Durden. Yeah, I feel like that's a very popular name with the Brazilians, Silva.
The other Bruno Silva. Maybe I should put in Bruno Silva flyweight in my notes.
This is Bruno da Silva.
Bruno Gustavo da Silva. This one, only lost the last one to Manuel Cape. All right. Well, yeah, that should be a decent one anyway. All right. Yeah, so I'll probably try to catch these prelims.
What about the boy Chaos Williams?
Chaos Williams. Yeah, always a gamer on that one. What was his last big win? He knocked out Carlston Harris. I think his last fight he lost via submission though. But yeah, Chaos Williams, he's always game to fight. He's got a couple highlight reel knockouts. I think he beat my boy Michelle by decision a few fights ago. So
he lost to Michelle by decision. But like you said, he's an action fighter.
Yeah, so it'll be decent, prelims there. So I'll try to catch these for sure.
Which one of these prelims you looking forward to, Steve?
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree. The Chaos Williams, the Spivak, those are the main 2 that I'll be interested in. So that's the beginning of them. So I'll probably be watching mostly all of them.
I think the Josh Van and the De Silva will be a sleeper. Sometimes people overlook the smaller guys, but I think those guys are going to go out and swing. So, yeah, I'll definitely be tuning into these. But let's move on to the main card, fellas. There's some notable names on this one as well. Starting off in the welterweight division, we got Vicente Luque versus Kevin Holland. I feel like these 2 fought already, but Admire check his records, and going into this card, Admire is leading with 15 wins, Steve at 13, and I'm at 12. So see if Admire can keep his lead. And what are your thoughts on this first one, Admire?
For some reason, I was thinking they already fought as well, but going over it, they have not. You got Kevin Holland coming off of a win against Gunnar Nelson just a couple months ago in March. Let's see. Luque seems like I thought he fought more recent than that, but Luque fought back in December. He came off a submission win there. And then Luque lost to Buckley by TKO, beat RDA, lost to Jeff Neal, lost to Bilal Muhammad. But my record with Holland fights is not good, man. Every time I bet on Holland, he loses. Every time I bet against him, he wins. The odds on this one, they have Luque at a plus 215 underdog. They got Kevin Holland at a minus 265 favorite. I don't know, man. They got Luque ranked at number 14. Kevin Holland is outside of the rankings at this time. I'm going to have to go with Luque on this one. I'm feeling it. I got to bet against Holland and go with Luque.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Luque. Holland hasn't been consistent at all with me. And it seems like Luque would be more technical too, especially if he went to the ground. And that's what Holland been struggling at lately.
I'm going to go against the grain on this one. I'm going to go with Holland. I mean, he's been win-loss, and he's coming off the win of Nelson. I remember watching that fight, and, he kind of cruised along. But I'm going to go with Holland to string 2 together and then probably lose his next 2 later on in the year. But should be a pretty action-packed fight. It's a good way to kick this off, the curtain jerker. So Steve Ammeyer, I have Luke, and I have Holland. Moving right along in the bantamweight division, we have Mario Bautista versus the debuting Patchy Mix coming over there from Bellator. Very celebrated fighter coming over there, but a lot of these guys coming over there don't have the best track record. And so, thoughts on this one, Ammeyer? Who you got?
Don't have any odds on this one, but I've been watching Patchy Mix fight for quite a while. Only has one loss. He's beat kind of the who's who of the Bellator world. A lot of times, like you said, it doesn't translate. Just like, Sergio Pettis really couldn't cut it the UFC, went over to Bellator, and became champion over there. So Patchy Mix has beat Sergio Pettis. He beat Magomedov over there. Magomedov over there.
Beat him twice.
Yeah. So as far as like competition is in name power over in the Bellator world, Patchy Mix has done real well. Not to say that, his opponent, Mario Bautista, hasn't done well in the UFC. His last fight, he beat Jose Aldo. But I think as far as strength of schedule, I think Patchy Mix has had kind of the tougher competition, the better, career. So I got to take Patchy Mix on this one.
Yeah. They just quietly kind of got rid of Bellator. I think PFL finally got rid of it. But, I mean, he was your defending Bellator bantamweight champion before I guess they officially got rid of it. So coming over for there. So Admire has Patchy Mix. Who you have, Steve?
I haven't seen Patchy Mix fight.
Really? Oh, yeah. If you got a chance, go back and look at. I think they have some of his fights on YouTube. He's the real deal as far as the competition he was given in Bellator.
Okay. So what I excuse me, seeing with his thank you, fight history, not too many significant wins, and the people he did fight that are on top of the list, like Sandhagen, which it was beginning of his career, he lost. He won against Keller, but then again, he didn't rise above his, I should say, fight night date. When he's heading a fight night, so I wouldn't say that was too much of a prestige win. So I think if that's the case, what y'all say, I think he may win that. And if I can remember, Bautista, it was an upsetting win with Aldo his last fight.
Yeah, that was last year, October.
Or am I mixing up this one recent one he had?
Yeah, that was Bautista's last fight. It was Aldo. This was back in October.
Oh, okay.
On the Pierre Roundtree card.
Yeah, I would have to go to Patchy Mix.
But Bautista's win streak is nothing to sneeze at right now. Besides Aldo and Ricky Simone, though, it hasn't been a whole lot of notable fighter. Brian Kelleher is always a scrappy fighter, but he's no world beater. But yeah, Bautista's on a 7-fight win streak, so that's nothing to sneeze at. And you said there aren't any odds on this one, am I?
Not on the UFC's page. Let me see if I can find it.
I mean, I don't think this is definitely not going to be in a walk in the park for Bautista. But Steve said, yeah, Patchy Mix. I'm going to go with Patchy Mix as well. But I wouldn't be surprised if, it ends up, if Bautista gets a round off him. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Patchy Mix as well. And I'm surprised like ESPN doesn't have odds on that, Admire.
Let me see. Patchy Mix is a minus 170 favorite. Bautista is a plus 145 underdog. So it's pretty close.
Yeah, it's close. So it could go either way. So I'm looking forward to some fireworks in that one. But moving right along in the middleweight division, we had Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pyfer. Thoughts on it from one there, Admire?
I don't think there's a fighter that pisses me off more than Kelvin Gastelum. I picked him in that season of The Ultimate Fighter to win at the very beginning. I picked him, and he ended up winning. He beat Uriah Hall. That was the season Uriah Hall did that spinning back kick, and everybody thought he killed that dude.
Oh, yeah.
And Kelvin Gastelum just showed so much promise early in his career. And I mean, he's got so many good wins. Johnny Hendricks, Tim Kennedy, Vitor Belfort, and then I don't know what happened. I don't know if he didn't apply himself or if he got lazy. Like, just started alternating losses and went on losing streaks, and it just pisses me off because his potential is his ceiling is so high, but I don't know, man.
Well, you don't think that maybe the Israel Adesanya fight kind of took a piece of his soul? I feel like he hadn't really been the same since that fight. Like, fight of the year candidate too. That was a hell of a fight, and both guys left it all out.
Yeah, I mean that one, and I don't know. Even before that, the Tyron Woodley fight when he missed weight. That was the first time he missed weight. Or no, that was the second time he missed weight. Before that, he missed weight against somebody else. But like he started missing weight, and then he kind of had to move up to middleweight. Like I don't know. It just seems like he kind of got lost along the way, and then he just got his ass beat by, Izzy. So I don't know, man. It just seems like to me that he just didn't apply himself all the way, and then just the alternating wins and losses. And then, he's going against this guy, Joe Pyfer, who, who did he just knock out? Didn't he knock out? Didn't he knock out?
Barrio, Marc-Andre Barrio.
Marc-Andre Barrio, yeah. So, what are the odds on this one? Gastelum's a plus 295 underdog. Pyfer is a minus 375 favorite. I think I got to go with the odds makers on this one, and just everything I just said about Gastelum. You don't know which version of him's going to show up, so I can't risk it. So I got to go Joe Pyfer on this one.
Steve,
I'll go with Joe Pyfer just because I think he's just been more active than Gastelum. Seems like every time Gastelum fights, it's like off the couch or you haven't heard of him in a while and popping up.
Yeah, both of these guys haven't been the most active. Both of these guys haven't fought since last year, June. So, but I feel like Pyfer doesn't have that same stigma as Gastelum as far as like pulling out of fights and like Amar saying missing weight and being unprofessional in that sense. But go ahead, Steve.
Feels like Kelvin has to warm up, or get it to start, fighting. Like you said, his last fight that was pretty good was Israel Adesanya, and ever since then he's been a deteriorated fighter.
Yeah, he lost I don't even remember the Chris Weidman fight, but Chris Weidman beat him, so that's saying something. This is before the Adesanya fight. Even after that, though, he went on a 2-fight winning streak. I don't even remember him knocking out Michael Bisping. This is after Bisping lost the title, and he beat Jacare. I don't even remember that either. So it goes to show how many fights we watched. Lost Darren Till after the Izzy fight. Lost to Jacker Manson. So yeah, like you said, sometimes he starts slow as well. I'm gonna go with Pyfer as well, but I think it's now or never for Gastelum. And he's not even extremely old. What is he at? Like 33, 34?
Let's see.
He's not even that old.
Gastelum 33.
Yeah, he's just got a lot of tread on those tires. So I don't know. It's losses don't come in all flavors. So I think he needs to look good even if he loses. If he just goes out there and gets starched, then it might cut his ass, but we'll see how that plays out. But moving along, let's go to the co-main event in this one. women's bantamweight, your champion Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison, and this is a fight that a lot of fans have been looking forward to. Kayla Harrison got on my radar like in 2017 or so when I found out two-time gold medal and was transitioning to MMA. I thought she would have been in UFC a lot sooner. No, but here we are. Better late than never. And how many fights did she have in UFC? Like what, just one so far?
2. She said 2.
She said 2? Man, my memory. Yeah, I guess she did beat Holly Holm. I don't remember her choking out Holly Holm. And then a decision. She wasn't satisfied with that victory over Ketlin Vera. She was hard on herself, but a win's a win. She only lost once, and that was a lightweight fight against Larissa Pacheco. I remember watching that fight, and I don't know, she just seemed kind of out of it, that fight. But we are here now. A lot of trash talking between these two. I've seen some clips online, and we know Juliana Pena is one to talk trash, and Kayla Harrison isn't one to have a quiet opinion on stuff when it comes to trash talking. So what are your thoughts on this one, Am?
Well, I mean, the odds makers have this, I think, the way that the UFC wants this to go. I think the UFC has been pushing for Kayla Harrison, 2 fights, and she's got the title shot. They got Pena at a plus 440 underdog, and Harrison is a minus 600 favorite. I think this is the biggest, underdog I've seen a champion coming into a fight. Basically the odds makers are not giving her much of a chance. Whether the odds were in her favor or not, I was going to go with Kayla Harrison on this. I just think she's too big and too strong. I think she's going to get a hold of Pena and just kind of drag her around and take her where she wants. I mean, I'm not saying Pena is a slouch on the ground, but I mean, I just think Harrison is going to just out-muscle her and just kind of have her way with her, and just kind of do what she wants, use that judo, the judo toss, and just kind of use the ground transitions to get a sub in. I mean, I think it'll be a first round sub for Harrison. I'll even add that disclaimer to it.
I won't be shocked if that happens. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, I have faith in Harrison. But when I did see the her last fight, which was with Vieira, from what I saw, she kind of had in certain positions struggle to get her down. And saying Julia Pena, who of course we in that division looking up to Amanda Nunes, how she was well versed in takedown defense and even striking. Pena was able to take care of that, whether if it was an off day for Amanda Nunes that day. She handled herself. And considering that, if Kayla can't get her down, she has a striking at her hand to where at her advantage. I don't think she has great striking, but we also saw she caught Amanda Nunes off guard, which possibility that might be her possibility if she cannot grab a hold of her. So I want to lean towards Kayla Harrison, but I'll give Pena a chance.
All right. Everybody has a chance, especially high caliber fighters that these two are. I mean, like you said, anything can happen. She caught Amanda Nunes, and Nunes was off for the rest of that fight once she got caught. But we saw what happened in the rematch, so anything can happen. But I just don't see that much of a path of victory for Pena in this one. Like you said, she could just catch Harrison early on and throw Harrison off, or catch her with a strike and able to get her down. But I just feel like Admire saying if Harrison just gets her paws on her, it's going to be a long night for Pena, because she could pretty much do what she wants to in the clinch, and unless Pena has some type of strategy to avoid it, like goes with the Vienna blueprint. But yeah, I feel like even Harrison's not the most technical striker, but she's strong. So if she hits you, you feel it. I saw a lot of her PFL fights where that happened. So I'm going with Harrison as well. And like I might say, I wouldn't be surprised if it's over in the first round. but we'll see. Hopefully, it's pretty competitive. But all three of us have Harrison in this one, and I'm sure there'll be a whole lot to talk about once we recap this next week. But let's move on to the main event. This is a rematch. It's not an immediate rematch for Dvalishvili. This is an immediate rematch for O'Malley, if I'm not mistaken. No, am I right?
This is an immediate rematch for Sean O'Malley.
Yeah.
And for Dvalishvili, this is not. He Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, so your bantamweight champion, Merab Dvalishvili, defended it against Sugar Sean O'Malley. What are your thoughts on this one, am I?
Well, I mean, I've always been a critic of Sean O'Malley. I mean, he's a great fighter, don't get me wrong. I was always a critic of his up until his last couple fights. Really where his accuracy and just everything started to really shine. You know, his fight against Sterling, where he looked great. His fight against Marlon Vera, his striking was amazing. It just kept getting better and better. But then, you know, when he ran into Dvalishvili, it went exactly how I expected. Like, Dvalishvili is such a well-rounded fighter. He can do it all. He can stand up. He can wrestle. I mean, he can just do it all. And I'm just looking at this rematch as what has changed. What could each fighter do differently? Dvalishvili doesn't need to do anything different. He's so well-rounded. He could go in as the same fighter and still win. Do you think that Sean O'Malley could change anything? Do you think his ground game could progress that much in one fight to where he could hang and, you know, not get taken advantage of on the ground like that or get controlled or anything? I don't think that having an instant rematch for O'Malley is the move. I don't think it's wise because I don't think that he could learn all that it takes to compete with somebody like Merab on that level. So, I mean, I got to go with Merab. I see it going exactly the same as the last fight, maybe even, you know, more dominant or even a finish for Merab.
Steve?
I would have to agree. I think Merab was just too dominant for even not to even have the first match competitive. It's not like Sean O'Malley's going to snap his fingers and gain some new takedown defense or even takedowns itself because, you know, we saw Merab go up against Nurmagomedov, you know, Khabib's cousin. And I think that's an accomplishment itself. So, you know, Sean O'Malley's going to have to definitely rely on, you know, striking, getting your opportunities because I think he's preparing to get taken down, you know, and get back up. You know, sort of a Conor and Khabib aspect. Get in where you can and prepare to get taken down.
Yeah, I agree with both of you, and especially Admire. Like, I don't get why they are such in a rush to put Sugar Sean O'Malley back into this title fight. Like, if you're O'Malley, you should want to get some rounds with some other fighters and just to, you know, get more experience in the cage because even though O'Malley has some fights, he's still young, relatively young. And why not have a fight or two to, you know, shake the taste from the last fight and get more experience in the cage and, you know, get a different look? Because like Amon said, what's changed since the last fight? And it's like, and Merab's only had one fight in between. So sometimes when you take a couple fights and you wait for the other fighter to get a little bit older, a little bit more wear and tear, this is a rough sport, and you have a better chance of getting the title back. I just think this is a mistake on O'Malley's part just to jump in another fight with him so soon, where we see Merab is just as strong as he was, like you said, against a Nurmagomedov cousin. And what has O'Malley done? I'm sure he's done a lot of pad work, but training is differently from actually being in the cage. And we haven't seen anything visually to tell us that this fight will go any differently. I mean, anything can happen. Anybody can get caught in. We know O'Malley has the punching power to change the fight like that, but I feel like Merab is more strategic. I think he avoids a shot and just keeps putting the pressure. And we know O'Malley could possibly gas out as well. We know Merab doesn't run out of gas. So I got Merab as well. But I don't know. Why do you think the UFC is so quick to put O'Malley back in the title fight, Amar?
I think that O'Malley has a very big following, a very big fan base. And then I think he has a very big social media presence. I don't know if I follow him, but let's just see. Sean O'Malley. Let's just see. Sean O'Malley has 4.5 million followers. I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I imagine it's good. That's how many he has on Instagram. I mean, he's not a bad guy. Just last night I was scrolling and he was at like I don't know, it wasn't a Make-A-Wish, but it was like a special needs dance thing, for people with special needs. And he was out there dancing with all of them and having a good time. So he does a lot of work with special needs people. So, I mean, he seems like a decent guy. So he's everywhere. When he was champ, he was on all the podcasts. He was on, I think, the Jake Paul, he was on Theo Vaughn. He was on all those. So he was bringing out a lot of views to the UFC and a lot of different things. So I think the UFC wants him to have a chance at the belt. I think they want him to have the belt. I think it's better business for them, but I don't think it's a good business move letting him have that instant rematch without a tune-up fight and a little more preparation. But that's just my opinion. What do I know?
I mean, what are the odds of this one?
On this one, they got Merab at a minus 325 favorite and O'Malley at a plus 260 underdog.
And from the evidence that we have in the history of fighting, the house usually wins, so they know something. You said a minus 200 for Merab?
For Merab, minus 325.
That's even more wider odds. So, I don't know. Sean O'Malley's gonna have to catch him if he has a chance. Because once it starts getting in that third round and he still hasn't gotten him out of there, it's gonna be deep waters. And I hope he's worked on his cardio, because we know Merab's gonna drag you into deep waters.
Yeah, and Merab's never been knocked out. So
yeah. I don't know. Once we get to the recap show, we'll talk about the fallout and the ramifications if O'Malley does lose, but who knows, maybe he'll win. But I'll have my popcorn ready, so to speak, and we'll be on the couch looking at these fights. But coming to the end of the show, and we'll be back next week to recap these fights and a lot of good ones on this main card. So make sure to follow us on all social media platforms, on IG, on Twitter, on TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Until next time, be safe out there.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot to leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest, sitting on the top. And I'm laughing at the fools who think they coming for the spot. You ain't got a shot, it's already mine.